Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It is Tuesday, 12th of August. So, what are we going to talk about today? All right. So, my take on diagnosing and diagnostic and why I feel it's as almost as important, if not more important, than being actually a mechanic. So, stay tuned. Alrighty, welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric, and yes, this is the weekday, Monday through Friday. Today is Tuesday, August 12th of 2025. So, what are we talking about when we talk about diagnostic, diagnosing? Why is that so important? And if you don't know how to do the diagnostic on things, then you're going to chase your tail a lot. You're going to waste a lot of time. And even the best people out there that do great diagnostics screw up once in a while too. It's not a perfect art form. We're not pre-wired to be right all the time. But as we gain knowledge as we do it, we can become better at it, right? And that goes back to the idea of the more you do it, the better you become. That brings wisdom, right? So that's where, if you're just starting out, that's where you need to concentrate. And if you've been at it for a while and you really haven't put a lot of time into it, there's no better time than right now to do it. Because what ends up happening is it costs the shop money and it costs your customer money that need not have been spent had you done it correctly. And again, it's an art form. You're not going to be 100% right 100% of the time. Be happy with the 80s and 90s. You can strive for perfection, but you're never going to get it. I can tell you that right now. All right, so you know me, a case in point, I always have some certain things, and it came right down to my lawnmower. My lawnmower is a John Deere zero turn, and it's the commercial grade, but one of our customers had it for 8 or 9 years and decided he wanted to update to a newer Ferris. So he was looking to sell it, and I told Claude, I said, I'm going to buy it, and I'll try it out because I hadn't had a zero turn before. So I went ahead and I bought it. And that thing has been carefree other than occasional blades, belts. It gets its service every year. And I mow probably around acre and a half, 2 acres a week with the old girl. Now, when I say old girl, he had it for 8 or 9 years, and I'm going on 13 now. And I give him $1,200, so I got less than $100 per season into that machine, even if I figure in all the parts that I put into it. So it started giving me issues with the charging. The battery was going dead on me, and we'd had this problem in the past, and it was simply a fuse, an inline fuse that held the charging so that if it overloaded, it would short out and blow the fuse, right? Well, I went to pull the fuse, and the fuse, it's one of the two prongs that you slide in. It came out 1.5 prongs with the rest of it inside the block where it locks in. And what it had done is it's made of aluminum steel, but it oxidized. And it would just like crumble. So we cleaned it all out. Figured we had it. Put a new fuse in. Went ahead, started it up. Put the meter on it to see if it was charging back from the stator. Nothing. So instead of going any further like we should have, we stopped there. I went online. I ordered a new stator. It came with a new regulator. Fast forward it 4 or 5 days later, and it finally comes in. I tear off the shroud, the top of the engine, get the flywheel off, get down to the stator. Stator looks in good shape. Magnets are in good shape. A little bit of dirt in there. We'll clean that all out. Went ahead and popped the new stator in. Set the flywheel back down. Buttoned it all up. But we didn't put the shroud back on until we were for sure. Because we had to reset the coils to the right. Which, by the way, was a good thing. Because now it starts easier. But we got everything all hooked up. And even put the new regulator on it. Fired it up. And still not charging. So then we started henpecking our way back through, and come to find out it was a wire, a positive wire coming over to the one side of the regulator that somewhere in my system had broke. Because if we took from the battery over to the one post on the regulator and hot shot from the battery, it would start charging. But the minute we took it off, the hot wire, it would quit. So we end up running a new wire from where the fuse plugged in all the way over to the regulator. And voila, that fixed our problem. See, had we done the correct diagnostics, and we probably would have, if it would have been at customers, we probably would have found that that wire was not feeding any power to the one side of the regulator when it needs to be, when the key's on, when it's running. But I was kind of in a hurry, so I skipped the formality, and it ended up costing me a stator and a regulator I probably didn't need. I know I didn't need. That's what I mean about why it's so important to do the diagnostics. It may take you an extra 5-10 minutes to do it right. You know, if it had been a customer's machine, we would have checked to see if it was getting power on the regulator side, on the power side. That would have been a given. But yet on mine, I decided just to go ahead and, oh well, it's got to be the stator or the regulator or both. Because what we did was we had the stator in, but we had a used regulator that we knew was good, so we popped that on before we ordered the stator. And it still didn't change anything. So that's where I went voila, and I ordered that new stator. In the end, we didn't need the stator. It's not going to hurt it, and the machine is well worth having a new stator and regulator in it. But all it needed was probably a 15-20 cent piece of wire run from the regulator side over to the fuse panel, where the push-in fuses are. And what we were thinking of after, we were talking about it yesterday when we were out doing a road call, is probably in back of that, where that fuse disintegrated, that lower wire probably disintegrated with it as well. So that was the wire that came out and fed the regulator. You have to learn the basics on how to diagnose something. You know, you hear us constantly talk about, compression, fuel, air, and spark, right? Those are your 4 biggies. And what to look for when you have each. You got compression, goes to overhead valves. Does it have overhead valves in it? If the valves are adjusted correctly, then you're looking at rings not building compression inside the cylinder wall. Or you got a cracked block. Or, the list goes on but if it's not the valves, it could be a head gasket. You have to be able to learn to do certain things in a certain order, is what I'm trying to get across. It's doing the compression after you've spent an hour on the machine is not the correct way, and you guys know that. But it happens. People, and even I do it at times. When you see a machine and it's sounding like a certain way or doing a certain thing, you remember back in your memory of having another machine that did exactly the same thing. So you bypass all the normal processes of diagnosing and go right to the heart of the problem because it's going to be a quick fix and you're in and out. Guess what? Now you've been at it for an hour and you're still no further ahead. And Claude and I are both guilty of this. Did you do a compression check on it? I don't remember. Throw a meter on it, it ends up being in the 30s or 40s, and you adjusted the valves, you did all this stuff, and it didn't make any difference. So today, this day and age, is junk. Honest to God, junk. Because no customer really wants to pay for an engine rebuild. So you're either going to do a used engine swap or a new Predator from Harbor Freight. That seems to be the two big things that customers want. They don't want an $800 engine rebuild, but they'll spend $795 for one from Harbor Freight. It comes with a warranty if you pay for it. Claude, he would rather just do swap engines at this point because he questions himself too. When he does an engine rebuild, people ask him if there's any warranty on it, and he'll tell them a threshold. The minute that machine leaves this yard, that's it for the warranty. And I think that if you are competent enough to be doing an engine rebuild, there should be a warranty on it. And him and I will go back and forth on this because he said, look, Eric, you don't know what that customer is using that machine for in the break-in on that engine. They could be out there mowing a hayfield. How are you going to have control over what they're doing with that machine? But you still need to take pride and offer some kind of a warranty. If you can see when it comes back and it's had abuse, that's something different, right? But I know since 2006, we've had to do a couple redos of where certain mechanical parts failed, and it wasn't our problem, but it was our problem. It wasn't our fault the way it was installed. It was the fault of the part itself. And yes, that costs us money because if it fails, then I feel that that's on me, unless I see abuse, to go ahead and redo whatever damage was caused to it. But we had a call the end of last week, and it was from a gal. She said that she was mowing along and she hit something, and she thinks she might have broke the blades and maybe the things that hold the blades on. So we went ahead and we picked a 2 o'clock pickup with her because she was doing classes and she'd be home around 2. So I give her a call and told her we're headed out. She said, could I give her an extra 15 minutes because she was still in class? I said, absolutely. Take your time. We'll sit and wait for you. So we got there, and we're looking at a older Husqvarna. It's got the 54-inch deck. And then I'm looking at a brand new Cub Cadet sitting on the hill. And Claude says, which one is it? I said, she didn't say. She just said that she thinks she might have broke or bent the blades. So we went up to the Cub Cadet because the other one hadn't been moved and there wasn't even a blade on the machine. And as Claude was looking, it looked like she'd been mowing for a while with just one blade. This gets better. They had bought a brand new 2024, and it came with a set of blades. It had to have. But at one point in time, the blades got wore or what have you. Someone decided they would change the blades, and it has that kind of like S shape that pops in the blades. Well, there wasn't even a blade on that lawnmower. And then we found one in the yard. And then we found one of the bolts that holds it on. And it ended up being a star blade instead of the S blade. And they had just stuck it up in there and tried tightening it up instead of finding the right blade for it. And she had lost the other one a while ago, so she continued mowing with just the one mower blade. And we could tell that because the other side, that the deck didn't have a blade, was so built up with grass, a blade couldn't have existed in that space and time. When you go and you start diagnosing stuff, as I told her, I said, it doesn't sound like it's a very expensive fix, but if somebody's using the wrong blade, we'll get you a new set of blades. I'll check the spindles to make sure that they're in good shape. And we'll need to get new blade bolts to hold the blades on, because they were missing as well. The one we found was stripped. So that's why I always say you never know what you're going to come upon based on customers' information. So the early diagnosing was, okay, there's not a lawnmower blade on it. We found a lawnmower blade in the yard where it had fallen off. We found the nut and the washer, and instead of installing the correct set of blades on it, they just went ahead and found the star set and tightened it up as best they could. And it had been running below the S shape instead of being up in, so it dropped the deck down. Some of the stuff is pretty easy fixes. But had you taken the customer's information was, I hit something, I broke the blades, and it's not mowing anymore. She may have hit something, but she'd been mowing for a long time with just the one side. I'm like, really? But I'm going to start wrapping this up. The biggest thing is learning how to diagnose. That's the key to whether you're in the automobile trade for mechanics or small engine. And even in real life, in a sense of diagnosing, you have to look at what is really going on versus what your mind is trying to tell you is going on. Because it could be two different things. And if you learn how to break things apart and figure out what failed, how it failed, and how to remedy it, isn't that kind of like life? You break it down, you put it into perspective, and figure out what went wrong, why it went wrong, and don't do it again. It's called learning. So on that note, put in the comments what you think and what your skills are and how you go about it. So on that note, you guys have a great Tuesday, and we'll catch you here bright and early tomorrow morning for another episode of the weekday. You guys enjoy Tuesday.